Ryan was a 25-year-old man who lived in a small, quiet town. He had a routine life, working as a librarian during the day and spending his evenings reading and exploring his hobbies. The tranquility of his existence was shattered one fateful evening when he almost became the victim of a kidnapping. It was a cold winter night, and Ryan had just finished his shift at the library. As he walked home along the deserted streets, he couldn't shake off a strange feeling of unease that settled in the pit of his stomach. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end, and he quickened his pace, desperate to reach the safety of his apartment. Unbeknownst to Ryan, he was being watched by a pair of sinister eyes from the shadows. The mysterious figure followed him, matching his steps with an eerie precision. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest as he realized he was not alone. He took a shortcut through a dimly lit alley, hoping to lose his pursuer, but it only made matters worse. Just as Ryan was about to reach the end of the alley, a hand reached out and grabbed his shoulder. A chill ran down his spine, and he turned around to face a tall, menacing man with a scar across his face. The stranger's voice was cold and menacing as he whispered, "Don't make a sound, or you'll regret it." Fear consumed Ryan as he realized the dire situation he was in. Thoughts raced through his mind, and he knew he had to act quickly if he wanted to escape. Summoning every ounce of courage, he elbowed the stranger in the ribs and sprinted away, his heart pounding with adrenaline. Ryan's breath came in ragged gasps as he darted through the streets, zigzagging to confuse his pursuer. Panic set in as he realized the man was still hot on his heels. With no other option, Ryan decided to take refuge in a nearby cafe, hoping that the crowd inside would deter his attacker. As he burst through the doors of the cafe, gasping for breath, he caught the attention of the startled customers. The stranger hesitated at the entrance, his eyes locked with Ryan's for a moment before he disappeared into the night. Ryan collapsed into a chair, his body trembling with fear and relief, thankful that he had managed to escape the clutches of his would-be kidnapper. But as he caught his breath and looked around the cafe, he couldn't shake off the feeling that the danger was not over. He knew he had to stay vigilant, for the face of his assailant would forever be etched into his memory. Ryan sat in the cafe, his hands trembling and his mind racing. He couldn't shake off the feeling that the stranger might return or that someone else might be involved. With every passing minute, his anxiety grew stronger, urging him to take action. Unable to ignore his instincts, Ryan decided to confide in a close friend, Sarah, who worked as a police officer in the town. He hurriedly dialed her number, his voice shaky as he recounted the terrifying encounter and the subsequent chase. Sarah listened attentively, her voice filled with concern. She assured Ryan that she would do everything in her power to ensure his safety. She urged him to stay put and promised to send a police car to escort him home. True to her word, Sarah arrived at the cafe, accompanied by 2 officers. Ryan felt a sense of relief wash over him as he saw the familiar faces of the law enforcement. He quickly recounted the incident once again, providing a detailed description of the stranger who had pursued him. The police took Ryan's statement seriously, and they immediately launched an investigation into the incident. They scoured the area, examining surveillance footage and questioning locals for any information that could help identify the assailant. The town was on high alert, and news of the attempted kidnapping spread like wildfire. Days turned into weeks, and Ryan's life fell into a state of constant anxiety. He couldn't escape the lingering fear that the man might strike again, that he might be lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Despite the police's best efforts, they were unable to identify the stranger or make any significant progress in the case. Ryan's nerves were frayed, and he found himself constantly looking over his shoulder, unable to trust even the most innocent of encounters. One evening, as Ryan returned home from work, he noticed a slip of paper sticking out from under his front door. He cautiously picked it up and unfolded it. The words scrawled on the paper sent a chill down his spine. "I'm still watching you." Panic consumed Ryan once again, and he immediately contacted Sarah. The police arrived promptly, searching his apartment for any signs of a break-in or evidence left behind by the stalker. Their efforts, however, proved fruitless. Determined not to live in constant fear, Ryan decided to take matters into his own hands. He enrolled in self-defense classes and became more vigilant, constantly assessing his surroundings. He installed security cameras and strengthened the locks on his doors and windows. Months passed, and Ryan's life slowly regained a semblance of normalcy. The stranger seemed to have vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the haunting memories of that chilling encounter. Ryan never discovered the true identity of his would-be kidnapper, and the case remained unsolved. Though the scars of that night would always remain, Ryan refused to let fear dictate his life. He became an advocate for personal safety, organizing workshops and events to raise awareness in the community. His resilience and determination inspired others to stay vigilant and fight against the shadows that lurked in the darkness. While the almost kidnapping had left its mark on Ryan, it also transformed him into a beacon of strength and courage. He vowed to live each day to the fullest, cherishing the precious moments and never taking his safety for granted. And as he moved forward, Ryan carried with him the knowledge that he had stared into the face of danger and escaped its clutches. He had come so close to being kidnapped, but had managed to reclaim his freedom, forever grateful for the resilience that had carried him through the darkest of nights. Helen, a cheerful and adventurous 8-year-old girl, lived in a peaceful suburban neighborhood with her loving parents. She was known for her lively spirit and boundless curiosity. One sunny afternoon, as Helen played in the park near her house, an unsettling incident took place that would change her life forever. Helen was engrossed in chasing butterflies when she noticed a man lurking in the shadows. He had a sinister smile that sent shivers down her spine. Instinctively, Helen felt something was terribly wrong, and her heart raced with fear. She quickly turned to run away, but before she could escape, the man lunged towards her, attempting to snatch her. With sheer determination, Helen managed to break free from the man's grasp. She ran as fast as her little legs could carry her, tears streaming down her face. She knew she needed to find a safe place to hide, but panic clouded her thoughts. Desperately seeking refuge, Helen darted into an old abandoned house at the edge of the park. The dilapidated walls and creaking floorboards heightened her unease, but she felt it was her only option. She huddled in a corner, trembling, praying that the man wouldn't find her. Meanwhile, Helen's parents had realized their daughter hadn't returned home. Panic swept over them as they scoured the neighborhood, calling out her name to no avail. Fear and desperation consumed their hearts as they frantically contacted the police, hoping for any leads. Inside the abandoned house, Helen's heart pounded in her chest as she heard footsteps drawing closer. The man had followed her trail and was closing in. In a desperate attempt to stay hidden, Helen pressed herself against the wall, praying for a miracle. Suddenly, a beam of light pierced through the darkness as the front door burst open. It was the police responding to the frantic call from Helen's parents. Helen's heart swelled with relief as the officers swept through the house, searching for any signs of her. "Over here," one of the officers shouted, discovering Helen tucked away in the corner. Tears of joy streamed down her face as they carried her out of the house, safe from harm. Helen's parents, overwhelmed with emotion, embraced their daughter tightly, grateful beyond words. As the police investigated the incident, they discovered that the man who had almost kidnapped Helen was a notorious criminal with a history of child abductions. He had managed to elude capture until now, leaving a trail of fear and devastation behind him. Helen's close call served as a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking in the world, even in seemingly peaceful neighborhoods. The incident left a lasting impact on her and her family, who vowed to cherish every moment together and never take their safety for granted. Months passed since Helen's harrowing encounter, and life had started to regain a sense of normalcy. The scars of that day still lingered, but Helen's resilience grew stronger with time. However, as the anniversary of the incident approached, a series of unsettling events unfolded, plunging Helen and her family back into the depths of fear. Strange occurrences plagued Helen's dreams. She would wake up in the dead of night, drenched in cold sweat, feeling an eerie presence in her room. Shadows danced on the walls, and whispering voices echoed in her ears. Sleep became a dreaded ordeal as nightmares entwined with reality. Unbeknownst to Helen, the man who had almost kidnapped her had been captured by the police. In the depths of his prison cell, consumed by a sinister obsession, he became fixated on the girl who had escaped his clutches. Vowing revenge, he meticulously plotted his escape, craving the opportunity to complete what he had failed to accomplish. One stormy night, the power went out in Helen's neighborhood. As darkness shrouded the area, Helen's parents felt a chilling presence creeping through their home. They sensed danger looming, but they couldn't put their finger on what it was. Helen's nightmares escalated, blurring the lines between her dreams and reality. She would wake up to find objects moved or broken, whispers lingering in the air. Fear consumed her once more, and she couldn't escape the haunting memories of the man who had almost taken her life. Determined to protect their daughter, Helen's parents contacted a paranormal investigator, hoping for answers. The investigator delved deep into the house's history, uncovering a dark secret from the past. The abandoned house where Helen had sought refuge was once the lair of a serial killer who had preyed on children. The investigator revealed that the man's spirit lingered, seeking vengeance against those who had escaped him. The anniversary of Helen's escape had reawakened his malevolent energy, fueling the supernatural disturbances that plagued the family. Armed with this knowledge, Helen's parents sought help from a spiritual medium. Together, they performed a ritual to cleanse the house and banish the vengeful spirit. The air crackled with energy as prayers filled the room, creating a barrier of protection. In the midst of the ritual, a bone-chilling gust of wind blew through the house, extinguishing all the candles. The medium's voice trembled, sensing a malevolent force resisting their efforts. But they persisted, their determination unyielding. As the final words of the ritual echoed through the house, a wave of tranquility washed over Helen's home. The nightmares ceased, and the unsettling presence vanished. The evil that had haunted them was finally laid to rest. Helen and her family could finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that they had faced the darkness head-on and triumphed. The scars from their ordeal would forever remain, a reminder of their resilience and the power of love and determination in the face of unspeakable terror. But as the sun rose on a new day, Helen couldn't help but wonder if evil truly ever disappears completely. Little did she know that the shadows of her past would forever shape her future, casting a long, haunting shadow on her life yet to come.